This is Greg from Greg Cheek Speaks, and this is Greg Cheek Speaks 01 Part 2. We got cut off last time, and I am at one of my favorite restaurants in the world, Kuz, and this is the perfect place for me to go ahead and bring this up. Now, I promised that these videos would be 3 or 4 minutes. I got a feeling this one's going to be just a little bit longer, but we're going to go into a topic that I was about ready to get into last time. So when I finished last time and I got cut off, we're just getting ready to go forward. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I was just getting ready to go in and start talking about goals, passion, enthusiasm, focus, why we get to those points, and then I got cut off. So what I want to do is I want to start off and just talk about a couple different things, and that is about goals and dreams. It's something that the 4.5 years that I've been here in Germany that I've been studying, and really did a lot of look at it as I got into my book, and wondering why people go from one point to another, and what pushes them, and kind of what drives them there, and in all walks of life. So we're going to quickly talk about that, and then we'll get into the topic that I promised we get into. So when we talk about goals and dreams and how you get to that point, you know, Steve Harvey had a great video the other day, and I'll put the link down in the notes, about jump and about jumping towards your dream, your goal. At some point, if you want to live, you've got to get past just doing the day-to-day thing, and that is getting rid of that word job and work, because there's no such thing as job and work. You have an opportunity. Every day you have an opportunity. You have a 400 trillion to 1 chance that you were even born, that you're even here. So it's an opportunity. It's not drudgery, it's not a job, it's not work. So when you get done with your opportunity, you can push off to something else. And then after that, push off onto something else, and you go towards your dream. So what does that? What makes somebody like Jack Ma? How does Jack Ma go from somewhere in China as a philosophy major to being worth $23 billion? When he was establishing his company, Alibaba, he was literally sitting in a cafe in San Francisco when he was just finding out about this thing called the internet. And he walked up to a waitress and asked her if she knew what Alibaba was. And she said, well, of course, Alibaba, 7 thieves, I know what that is. And he said, well, okay. So he went outside in the street and he started asking people, and it came to him. And then from that, he went back to China, and he pushed and he pushed and he pushed. But what I look for is, I look for the in-between. And that is, so we have Steve Harvey talking about jumping and going towards your dream. But the next thing would be like Steve Jobs' famous speech, and I'll put it in the notes down below. But Steve Jobs talked about connecting the dots, and that in order to be successful, you have to trust. You have to connect the dots. You have to be willing to trust that as you go forward, the dots will connect. So I get that. But as you jump and you're going from dot to dot, what is that thing? What pushes you? What makes you go forward? And it isn't just, and I'm going to share this with you, but this is Turkish tea, which I first had when I was 19, stationed in Turkey, which is incredible. And this right here, this dessert, I'll share it with you. This is called Fitzgerald, and this is also Turkish. Amazing. This restaurant, by the way, is incredible. We'll have to do a tour another time. But I'm just going to use a couple more people here. So what about George Lucas? George Lucas goes from Modesto, California, a little small town, doesn't really know what to do with himself, got a lot of speeding tickets. He goes to community college in Modesto Community College, and at that point decides he's going to go, and he has a little liking, taking 8mm videos. He has a liking to film, so he gets accepted to and goes to film school at the University of Southern California and pushes through there. But what about his buddy? His buddy tried to go to film school with him at USC, didn't get in, ended up going to Long Beach State. At Long Beach State, his buddy ended up getting an internship at Universal Studios. And immediately upon getting the internship at Universal Studios, his buddy did a video, which the vice president of Universal Studios loved, and signed him to a 7-year contract. His best buddy, his name is Steven Spielberg. So it's interesting, we start looking at these things, and there are dots that connect, but what pushes somebody to go through things? What pushes somebody to go on and on and on? Jeff Bezos, what made Jeff Bezos leave working on Wall Street, get in his car, drive to Seattle, and wrote his business plan for Amazon as he was driving to Seattle? What about yesterday, going into the Super Bowl? What about Cam Newton? Cam Newton, we see the Cam Newton today, the all-pro, unbelievable football player, maybe the best football player in the league right now. But if you go back a few years, at the end of his sophomore year, his second year at the University of Florida, he was let go before the national championship game, off the football team, out of the university. And 3 days later, the team wins the national championship. Cam Newton is in a car going to Blinn Community College to enroll there. Of course, he went to Blinn and Auburn, and now NFL, it's history. But what was that? What was that thing that caused him to go through and drive through? Julian Edelman, the same thing. Another community college, great story from San Mateo Community College that then went to Kent State and went forward. His story, remarkable. You know, he got finished playing at Kent State, he was a quarterback, but was told he had no chance of playing in the NFL as a quarterback. So what did he do? He reinvented himself and drove an hour and a half each way to Cleveland and took lessons to teach himself how to be a wide receiver. And then the summer before he started playing for the Patriots, he found out Tom Brady was playing football out in California with his wide receivers. So he went out there, got an apartment, and just jumped in and said, "Hey, Tom, I'm here." He started catching passes, and it's history. But it's that thing. It's that pushing through, that dots thing that just amazes me, which makes people go through. You know, something that I do, and I really start doing a lot here, thinking about that 33% rule that I picked up from Ty Lopez, and that is starting reading, mentorship. So a couple books. One, and this one is not this is not unknown. This is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I've used this in my interpersonal communication class for 10 years now. But he talks about in his book the difference between acting and acting upon. Every day you have the choice to act or act upon. And he says in his book, it's not what happens to us, but our response to what happens to us that hurts us. And that's that thing. What is it between the dots that makes somebody go to the right or makes somebody go straight to the top? What is that thing? Another book. And this book is, with Jim Stockdale and POWs from Vietnam. It's called Defiant, which is an unbelievable story. This whole book is filled with, in between the dot, that thing. Incredible story. This book here is Dean Karnazes, which is a kind of a mentor of mine as far as running. But he wrote a book about running 50 marathons in 50 days, if you can believe that. And that is, again, just minute, hour, day after day after day of that thing that gets you going through and through. Gifted Hands by Dr. Ben Carson, another amazing book. From where he grew up to be the most renowned brain surgeon in the world. Incredible story. And I'm gonna blog all these books in the next couple weeks and kind of give some main points of those if you're interested. This was a book, and I didn't read a lot of books. I kind of stayed off everything when I was going through radiation and chemo. But this book here, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, was one book I read when I was going through radiation and chemo. And it talks about how he went through Dachau and Auschwitz and basically maintained positivity to stay alive in probably the worst of any conditions in the world. So this thing that we talk about is what I ended with last time. And it's called Auf Ghets. In Germany, Auf Ghets means go, move, continue going. If you look at Germany, a country that in 1945 was in rubble, and now 71 years later, one of the strongest economies in the world, it is a country of people that go forward and they live this passion. But I didn't know what this Auf Ghets things was until I started training for my first marathon. And so I trained for my first marathon, and I run my first half marathon in Munich. So when I'm in Munich and running my first half marathon, I'm about 11 miles in. And at 11 miles in, I hear Auf Ghets, halt, 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 los geht's. I didn't really know what it was, but I know that it was pushing me and motivating me to push through a barrier that I wasn't sure what I was going to go through because I had been through radiation and chemo and all that a year earlier. So this running, I'd never run more than 10 miles in my life, was new to me, and it pushed me through. So 6 months later, I run my first marathon. And from the start of the race to the end, I started pushing Auf Ghets, los geht's, and I could feel it. It was almost like meditation running at the same time. Incredible. So we go forward to my 8th marathon, which was Hamburg, the 4th time I run Hamburg. And now I'm all over it. I'm feeling the Auf Ghets, I'm spreading it, I'm sharing it with everybody. My book is out, I talk about Auf Ghets. I now have people from all over the world sending me messages. I got one the other day from China, from India, from Fall River, California, from Chicago, saying, hey Greg, I'm doing this, I'm working my opportunity, but I'm Auf Ghets, I'm at my second opportunity, going for my dream, living my life. So in November 1st, I ran New York City Marathon. That was my ninth marathon since I've been here in Germany and since I was diagnosed with cancer. And I now live, I breathe Auf Ghets every day. When I get up every day, that's the first thing I think about in the middle of the day, all day. If I get tired, today. I had my opportunity all day today. From 6 in the morning, I did fitness this morning, 6 in the morning until 5 in the evening. And then I had my college class till 9 o'clock at night. And now it's midnight, and so I'll stay here for another hour. They'll close, and then I'll go to the house, finish working my speaking business, and I'll spend 2 hours on my next book till 3 in the morning. Who knows? There was times I wrote all night and just took a shower and went back to my opportunity again. But that's the amazing thing. When you're working on your dream, your passion, what you want to do the rest of your life, it's not work, it's not a job. You're working on what you want to do the rest of your life. But it's that in-between thing. There are times I don't want to get up after 2 hours sleep and run. There's times I don't want to run at night. But I think Auf Ghets, and it just makes me push through. So hopefully, I know I went about 8 minutes longer than I promised. I promised the ones after this will be short. But hopefully you can take this thing that I talked about, which was Auf Ghets, and you'll be able to use this. The reason why I love coming in this restaurant is that it reminds me of my first assignment when I left Texas going to Turkey. And I remember when they walked in and said, Aaron Cheek, do you want to go to Turkey? And I immediately said yes. And I didn't realize that all those years ago, I was really saying Auf Ghets. So hopefully you can take something with you, and I'm getting ready to get a little bite to eat along with my dessert here, and I still got a couple more hours to work on my opportunity, to work on my dream. So from Stuttgart, Germany to wherever you are in the world, Auf Ghets.